This is Providence Television International, the game changer. Every government needs a free press for the proper dissemination of its activities and programs. By and large, and all over the free world, a strangulated press is an open invitation to anarchy. In certain situations, the press may become aggressive and therefore enthused to put government on harm's way. The damage that comes from such a conflict sometimes can be irrevocable. A free press is a liberal entity and also an asset, but could become a national risk once it goes into the trenches. Political leaders should know that the press is an opinion galvanizer and must therefore be allowed and encouraged to do its work, particularly when it is done within the ambit of conventional and professional ethos. A hostile press can be a bad influence on the people's mental space, and this ultimately leads to conflict of interest within the polity, which may be difficult to manage. Lest we forget, a free press is empowered to operate under the umbrella of the 1948 United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which states that everyone has the right to freedom of opinion and expression, and this right includes freedom to hold opinions without interference and impart information and ideas through any media regardless of frontiers. Freedom of the press means non-interference from government or any other organization. Instead, the press, especially the mainstream media, should be seen as a viable partner in nation building and as part of efforts to put government on the right trajectory at all times. It is to be observed, however, that only despotic, tyrannical, and low-level leaders get terribly edgy when dealing with the press. Leaders who are known for honesty, compassion, and good governance have no reason to be apprehensive of the media. It is not by accident that in countries that are politically stable, the press enjoys relative freedom, while those that are hostile or intolerant of the press are usually riddled with all kinds of disruptions and upheavals. Recently, the US-based NGO Freedom House published a report indicating the Freedom Index of the press in relation to individual countries around the world. Iceland, Norway, Denmark, Finland, and Sweden topped the list, while North Korea, Myanmar, formerly called Burma, Libya, and Eritrea took the bottom spots. Mercifully, the good news is that today, government strictures on the press are getting more and more limited as a result of new technological devices for news dissemination. We are also delighted that in most parts of the world, the press has not given up its freedom, even when the circumstances that confront them are becoming more daunting. Fashionable popular opinions are still being heard against the backdrop of the idea that press freedom is the most important ingredient for a free state. Christopher Dodd, who served for 30 years as a U.S. Senator, will remind us that when the public's right to know is threatened, and when the rights of free speech and free press are at risk, all of the other liberties we hold dear will become endangered. Without any doubt, freedom of the press has the capacity to vitiate political instability in any nation. That is the norm, because as Napoleon Bonaparte believes, 4 hostile newspapers are more to be feared than 1,000 bayonets. Freedom of the press is conceptually allied to freedom of conscience, which explains why the critical press is usually assailed by autocratic leaders who are scared to face the consequences of their actions. However, press freedom, being one of the greatest hallmarks of liberty, is a huge benefit to all, government and the citizenry alike, for it encourages the very essence of democracy and competitive values. Many thanks for being with us. Join us next time for another edition of our editorial. This is Emmanuel Egariva in Benin.